Freezing cold in ancient usual.
You the cold maze say one freezing cold in ancient usual. Alright.
We don't stay in the shoes now, and whole building scene in a whole red maybe get the color boss dying. Somebody begin to cold, baby, stay yet, Bill Joe. We don't stay in the shoes now, and whole building scene in a whole red maybe get the color boss dying. When does it say, man, you can't be seen? You know, for some, another just got babies a shame. You the cover not choose, not right, but not sure, hope, just getting out the cover, no time. Oh, but if it's a stand, I like the shoes, go, my man. You would cost you the amount it's called the radio girls. Oh, Sunday.
My eyes, my senseless, and he got some going diesel. Eyes. You the cold maze say one freezing cold in ancient usual. Alright.
Eyes, mind senseless, and he goes some doorway basil. Eyes.
Freezing cold in ancient usual. Alright.
Well, I sit on sleeping at the king of the scene till I just an up and off home, had a good time, the left face to go. We the seeing in the stand, and the shoes are coming in. There's just 200 cars that over 400.
Welcome.
Black Screen of Death. Hey, what's going on, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, podcast fans of all ages. I am Dave Valente. Thank you for joining us on the Political Deep Dive. Joining us tonight from Pennsylvania, Joe Slosky. How you doing, sir?
I'm here live and in the flesh.
Well, not too much flesh.
Yeah, that's right. Let's keep it clean.
We would have to put it on OnlyFans.
Well, as you guys know,
That'll
I have
scare
my
him
own
away.
site that's Only Dan's.
Only Dan's.
It's me, Dan Berman, and one other Dan. But we can't let you guys join
Dan
us
Rather.
because
Dan
I
it's
Rather.
love
Only
it.
Dan's. That's Dan
Love
Rather.
it.
What's up, Jeremy? Hey, Craig. How's it going? And joining us from Maryland, Dan the Man Fishman, with Comrade Dan.
Yeah, Comrade Dan.
Comrade
I'm here
Dan.
to represent the people.
Power to the people.
Power to the
People to the
people.
power.
Hey, Craig. Ari,
baby?
unfortunately, has a bad back tonight and is not able to join us.
Yeah.
But they
Hope they're feeling
will
better later.
be back soon.
Yes.
We hope.
And AJ's having issues with her apartment community keeps promising to bring in fiber optic cable, hopefully give her a stable environment to broadcast from, but that keeps getting pushed back. So hopefully that gets delivered at some point. We can get AJ back on the air because
That would be awesome. I also
Yeah.
think that that's going to come into our talk about socialism. But we want to talk about something else first, right?
we can talk about that
Jerry Seinfeld.
song. We can talk about that song you foisted upon us this week.
Well, it's funny. My brother recognized it immediately because he also is a QI watcher. They played it there, but it was very interesting because it's a song that if you listen to it, you think that you recognize things that are being said, but it is in fact completely gibberish. And the guy who wrote it to be a gibberish song that he said, this is what English sounds like to non-native English speakers. And so if you listen to it, it's a very interesting
But it sounds
experiment in that space.
if you look at if you look at the title, it looks Italian.
Hmm.
The performer is Italian,
Yep.
but the the title is long enough that it seems like either German or Swedish. It's like
Yep.
this
Yep.
long compound word. Yeah, it's a interesting song. If you go on to YouTube and check it out, the comments are comedy gold. Somebody said that the guy singing in the strong passwords you get recommended from websites,
That's pretty
and
funny.
the what was the other one that I sent you the
I'll look it up.
It's interesting what you're saying about language here, Dan. I know that, lots of times you can listen to people speaking in Scottish and you're thinking, what are they saying? And it sounds almost gibberish. But right here in the United States, I know there is, differences in dialects. Uh, in Virginia, in Chesapeake Bay, there is a little spot called Tangier Island. And the residents there's not a lot of them. It's a throwback literally to 150 years ago. To hear them talk, if
James.
you ever have, hmm?
Oh, James Savina. He's been a while since we've seen him on. Good to see him
Cool.
back.
Great to have you here. But yeah, the people of Tangier Island, if you ever have a chance to look up on YouTube, Tangier Island, you will not be able to understand 4 words in a row that they're saying. And
Yeah.
it's all English.
We got some regional dialects. What is it? The Geechee culture down in South Carolina. They say like South Kakalaki. You know, it's cool. It's great to have like the regional dialects and regional culture.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
The other comment that I posted was that someone commented that on the video that he sings like Doctor's Right, which fair. If you ever seen Doctor's Notes, and I've been knee deep in Doctor's Notes before,
Yes.
that is absolutely fair. All right. So yeah, this week we're going to talk about get back into the capitalism versus socialism debate in a little bit. But one of the big news items this week has been the talk about redistricting, and normally redistricting occurs after the biennial or the
Yeah. The census that happens once every 10 years.
Yes.
yeah.
And usually, I can't speak to every state, but for Massachusetts, it's the election after the census. It's actually the second election after the census.
Yeah,
So
so the 24 election should usually be the first
exactly right.
election that has depending on the
New
state. Like
districts.
Virginia, who has off year elections, they'll tend to have that
Right.
first election be like the 23 election.
Now, the one thing that's
Um,
interesting about that, though, is that I don't know how they do that for congressional districts. I think they
no,
have to
no.
implement those right away.
The congressional districts will be the 24 because that's the first race after.
Oh, really? So it's not 22, even though it is.
Generally,
Because I was in Massachusetts when Massachusetts went down from 10 to 9. And
I don't
I can't remember when it happened.
I think they get a little bit of grace period to institute the numbers because once because it takes a while for them to count the people,
Right, because they don't finish
and
the
then the
census in
data and all that
2020. They
stuff.
take the census in 2020,
Yeah,
and then
so
they
it takes a
accumulate the
while.
information. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense to
So
me.
anyway, there's it's long practice. Elbridge Gerry is the progenitor of the idea that creating congressional districts to essentially pick, partisan favor for those for the preferred party, creating districts that don't look like real good congressional districts. And the term gerrymandering comes from the fact that district that he drew looked like a salamander, so they call it gerrymandering.
And it was my
Um,
old district, Massachusetts 6.
yeah. So yeah, it's happened for decades, and people will point out that it was started out as a Democrat doing Yale. Cherry was a Democrat, um, but both parties have instituted gerrymandering where it's suited them.
Right. I would say it is nonstop done, and a great example, I think, of the most recent. Texas is obviously. We're going to talk about Texas at length
Yes.
about what they're going to do. But the last one that was probably the most heinous, in my opinion, was the way the Democrats redrew Michigan, because they cut up Detroit so that there would not be a black representative elected from Detroit. They did that because they wanted to spread the Democratic votes of the city out throughout the country. But in order to do that, it meant that none of those places were majority black. They were just majority Democrat. And so white people were elected. And so Detroit City, which is very African American demographically, and had previously always elected an African American Congress, like after 1960, no longer has the votes to elect an African American. So
Yeah,
it's
and I mean,
terrible.
I've lived in states that have done this. Georgia, there was one year. It was after the 2000 census.
Yep.
The Democrats were trying to hold on to the state. They were, rapidly running out of power. Gosh, what was his name? Roy Barnes, governor at the time, did this map, and I swear there was one district that started out in Marietta, which is a suburb of northwest of Atlanta, fairly close to Atlanta. The district went up to the Tennessee-Alabama line, the corner there by Chattanooga, along the Tennessee border, down the North Carolina border to the South Carolina border, down to a little town called Toccoa Falls. Basically to essentially to create some mega Republican district that the premise behind gerrymandering and why they want to do things like this is to pack as many of the minority party candidates, unless you're in a state like West Virginia where both congressional districts are going to go Republican, or both, if you're in a single member state, um, or where there's a huge registration advantage.
Yeah.
You're going to have like one or two districts in any state, no matter whether it's majority Republican, majority Democrat, that is going to go against the normal bias. I mean, most states are generally about 35% to 40% of one party or another that is in the minority. So the thing behind gerrymandering is you are packing as many of that minority party into as few districts as possible. So you get maybe one or two districts with 90%, 95% Democrat or Republican, whoever you're trying to exclude. And then the rest of the districts, you're okay with having like a 55-45 split, or a somewhere where it's a majority of the favored party and a bare minority of a comfortable minority of the
And
other party.
I think too, it's unfair to say that uh, party was the initial. Party had a lot to do with it, but a lot of people remember Earl Warren,
Mhm.
Chief Justice of the
Yes.
Supreme Court,
Yep.
Headed the
and when he
Warren Commission.
retired,
Hmm.
they asked him what was the most important decision that he had presided over. And he had presided over Brown versus the Board of Education, presided over Miranda, several things that are really. But he said that Baker versus Carr was the most important decision that he had ruled
Wow.
over.
Wow.
Baker versus Carr took place in 1962 is when it was decided. Uh, the reason it was brought was because Tennessee had not been redistricted since 1901. During that time, Nashville had grown enormously. And like most urban areas, there were a lot of black people living there. And Tennessee at the time was a solid blue state.
Oh
No
yeah.
matter what happened, it was always going to be a Democratic state. Even people, relatively young people on this or in our audience, remember that Al Gore was a senator from Tennessee, right? Al Gore, Democrat, Mr. Climate Change. He was, overwhelmingly favorite son of Tennessee, ran for president on the strength of
Now he
Tennessee
lost
Democratic
Tennessee
Party.
though,
Well, right, exactly. It lost to
and that's why he lost the presidency.
Right. Right. Well, I wasn't thinking about that part. I was actually thinking about when he lost the primary, but he did
I
carry Tennessee in the
I would
primary
turn it.
against
Yeah.
Bill Clinton.
I'll interrupt and just say I think the reason Al Gore lost the presidency was West Virginia.
Well, part of it, but I mean, if he had won Tennessee, West Virginia doesn't matter, Florida doesn't matter.
Right.
Yeah,
He
but if
carries his
you
own
had
state.
but West Virginia was supposed to be solid Gore, they thought, and I
Oh
think that's
no,
what 3
No,
electoral votes,
I mean
and
it
it
was
didn't go
it
his way.
was
five,
it was
five
rigged.
at that point, I
5?
think. Yeah.
Yeah. But at that point in time, I just want to finish up the thing about it. So what happens is that a lawsuit is actually brought by the NAACP saying that the districting is wrong and Virginia should change the districting because right now they had all of Nashville be one district, even though that district was, 30% of the population of Tennessee. Uh, in a really amazing case and an amazing history, uh, and I recommend people look up Baker versus Carr. Radio Lab did an amazing broadcast about it. The court ruled 6-2 by the majority opinion. Famously was Justice Brennan, who was against Frankenfurter, the famous conservative justice, who said they didn't rule whether or not the district was unjust. What they ruled is that the courts, the federal courts, can rule on state districting issues. So they said in an election, the rights of the people are to vote are a federal right. And chances are pretty good at some point in time, it depends on the circles you've run in. You've heard people say, well, there's no guaranteed right to vote, or at least not until the 19th Amendment uh, in the Constitution. There's something to that. The 14th Amendment is the first time that we talk about
I mean, Pete
people
Hegseth would
getting to vote.
agree with you.
Huh?
Pete Hegseth
Right.
would agree with you.
Sure, absolutely.
Jesus.
And then, well, because I mean, it's not that it doesn't talk about voting; it talks about whether or not you have a right to vote,
Sure.
and that's a really interesting thing because obviously the initial Constitution didn't give women the right to vote, which is why they had to have the 19th Amendment.
Didn't count African Americans
As
equal
3/5 of
human
people,
being. Yeah.
right? So gerrymandering, redistricting, has been used by the majority party in the same way that laws and regulations are used by businesses to preserve a competitive advantage,
Yes.
to
Yep.
create a barrier to entry.
Yep.
Mhm.
And so that
Absolutely.
brings us
And
forward to
all of us
that,
know that from our days of being
right,
in third parties, the
right,
competitive disadvantage of
And
not being in one of the two preferred parties.
right. It means that you're
We've
not going to
faced.
carry any
Yeah.
district. You have no safe districts.
and
Yeah.
that's the corrupt duopoly right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, and we still see, I mean, until recently, the Supreme Court did exercise their jurisprudence over congressional districts based off of the 64 Civil Rights Act.
Yep.
Um, and, there were districts that were drawn that put African Americans at a competitive disadvantage, or they weren't drawn to, weren't given representation with the maps that are drawn, and it's uh, now it really is more because we have become so hyper polarized when it comes to our politics. It is
Yep.
team red versus team blue, and we are now
Which
drawing it so that what's in Texas, we're trying to draw 5 additional Republican districts by packing so many Democrats into, Houston-based districts and Dallas-based districts and Austin-based districts, the smaller districts, or larger districts that really carve out, Democratic populations. And the way that software is now, it used to be that you would have to really work hard to micro target.
To
But
fairly
now,
redraw. Yeah. But now it can be
yeah,
done very easily.
yeah, you
There,
just plug in data and it will draw you a full state district map with,
well, and
uh,
what's interesting about it is that there is an idea that the districts should be drawn with some idea of communities together.
That's
Yes.
extremely radical, Dan.
Well, I mean, it's interesting because what happens is now, our decision as to what makes a community it's subjective. And
Sure.
there have been a lot of people who said, maybe, well, there's a couple of interesting things. One is we could obviously go to a proportional representation, which would be awesome. I'd be all for that. And for people who don't understand what that means, that would mean that the representatives would be elected just like your senators. But you would have a vote across the state, and instead of electing each person, you would elect a party, and then that party, based on the percentage that they won of the vote, would get a number of representatives. So this is actually, to a certain extent, the Trump argument of what's happening in Texas. Their argument is that if you proportionally represented Texas, Texas would have more Republicans elected because of the way the districts are drawn and the larger influence of the cities. Massachusetts, my old home state, has not elected a Republican since 1994 in my
Has
old
not elected a Republican to what? Like the
to
governor?
federal office. To
Oh,
federal
okay.
office.
Okay.
No
Gotcha.
congressman. They elected Scott Brown in a special election, which was a very unique special election in which he had one of the all-time great zingers. Ted Kennedy had died, and Scott Brown was doing better in the polls than people thought he would. And the woman he was running against, named Martha Coakley, during the debate said, I can't believe that we're talking about this, the idea that we're going to elect a Republican to Ted Kennedy's seat. And Scott Brown said, Madam, it is not Ted Kennedy's seat. It is the people's seat.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, just
Yeah.
huge
I
zinger.
mean, she was a horrible
had-
candidate.
That
She was
had
a
to be
horrible
big
candidate.
win.
And
It was lightning in a bottle, and it was Obamacare too. It was the
yeah, exactly.
Obamacare election that
He ran on saying, I am the 41st vote against Obamacare, because at the time the Democrats had a 60-40 edge in the Senate, a filibuster-proof majority, which I don't know if we'd ever see that again, but if we did, it would be crazy. And Massachusetts essentially elected Scott Brown, even though Massachusetts had passed Romneycare. A lot of it had to do with saying, look, what they're doing is wrong. You are overriding the filibuster to pass this thing that people are objecting to. And in the end, they ended up, even though they had the 60 votes, they didn't have the votes to do it unless they sort of fudged it with reconciliation, which only requires a 51% vote.
yeah.
We can get into that.
So
Gerrymandering.
you said something about Texas. Trump's case is that if Texas had proportional representation, the current makeup of the Texas delegation is 25 Republicans to 12 Democrats with one vacancy.
One vacant.
I don't
right.
think the Democrats are what a third of the vote.
Two-thirds. I thought it was.
I don't think it's 2/3 to. I mean, if you look at the last few elections,
I think it's 60-40. But let's look. Trump versus.
and remember, it's not necessarily because here's the fly in the ointment for the Republicans when it comes to gerrymandering. They you carve up these districts and you make them.
Right.
You're packing more Democrats into districts, but you're
Right.
also leaving Republicans a little bit more vulnerable to be able to do this.
Yep.
You're reducing the safety of some of these districts. Now, some of these districts are super red, but let's say you're at a 55-45 district. This election, Trump is underwater in a lot of things. Immigration, a lot of, and we're starting to see beef become an issue. The price of beef, the price of coffee, inflation is starting to really bite as his tariffs are really starting to take hold. They're not counting the independents, and the independents now are a plurality of the electorate. Maybe not in Texas. It may be fairly close. Maybe Republicans do have a registration advantage. I'm not
but
sure what their
they're the key. They are the
yeah.
key.
If you
Right.
hemorrhage the independents, it doesn't matter. I mean, you really almost needed to reverse course and build in 90% Republican districts to be able to save yourself some seats. Now, do I think the Democratic Party is going to take over Texas in this next election? I doubt it. I think there's still a lot of momentum on the Republican side as far as deeply red
Right.
states, but it's starting to move.
Well, I actually do think that if Republicans
Brandy.
don't cheat, yeah.
You
That's
say
very
it's starting to move.
Brandy said, "Can Trump be literally underwater instead of figuratively underwater?"
We
It's pretty funny.
Well, I
I
look
do
at it
think.
this
Go
way.
ahead, Joe.
Everybody and their brother, including myself, keeps harping about the importance of the Epstein files. Now, I don't see how people keep supporting this guy in light of the allegations and the proven criminal intent against him. So, yeah, I see them all swinging just
because
based upon.
the
Well,
people think that it
I'm
is
going to
this
argue we're
idea
getting
of
off.
lawfare.
We're getting off task
Yeah,
here.
but
So
yeah, I
I
get it.
just to say I looked it up and you're right. It's 56 to 42, Texas. So 56, 15, 1, 2, 3. Texas should probably have
It's probably have
three
a few more
a
Democratic.
3-2 advantage. Texas should have 60%.
It's almost like 2 to
and
1 advantage at this point.
right now they have 67%.
Yeah.
So it's off a little bit. So yeah, adding 5 would definitely skew Texas disproportionately.
Now, in response, other states like California, who
Yep.
don't have a whole lot of Republicans to begin with,
California has
are
more
talking
Republicans
about
than you think, but
they
you're
do.
right.
But
It's only
also
9.
those a lot of Republicans have
Only 9?
started
Is that
moving.
what you
Well,
said?
they've moved to places like Texas. A lot of the Republicans are
Yeah.
fleeing California. They're quite proud about that. They fleed to
Right.
Idaho and Montana.
Only
And
9.
Right.
well,
Yeah.
to be fair, California has 51 seats.
52. California is currently D plus 34 with 43 Democrats and 9 Republicans.
Yeah, but they could.
And it would
I mean, they
would be
could.
easy for them to eliminate all the Democrats or all the Republicans.
They could. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they start
Well,
taking
and
fingers out of.
I think they will if Texas does something.
New York State the same way. They're talking about doing redistricting.
Yep.
Now, again, this is extraordinary in that they're doing redistricting, ahead of the 26 election. This is off-cycle redistricting,
Right.
all for partisan advantage. And again, who loses in this? And that's the American people. The people, again, the people should pick their representatives. But in this case, every case where there's gerrymandering going on, whether it's Republican or Democrat,
Yeah.
the representatives are picking their people.
Yeah.
I'd like to point out we went through the same thing here in Pennsylvania just a couple of years ago. There was such an uproar. We had this one horrific, skinny, narrow, salamander type district near Philadelphia. Everybody was up in arms about let's redistrict now. And they did. They ended up redistricting a couple of years ago to the better. I saw one recently in Maryland with Anne Arundel County. My heavens, I don't think
it is actually considered the worst of all the districts.
Oh my heavens!
Non-contiguous, which usually they try to do that.
Yeah,
but
at the very least,
James, was over by Philadelphia.
There's one that has a goes across it encompasses
goes
the
across
road.
Baltimore Harbor.
Well, it goes along the road, but it doesn't encompass any of the houses on that road.
Right.
It just goes along the road. There are lots of districts that do that.
Yeah.
It's
pretty crazy.
It is horrendous. So I was glad to see Pennsylvania took that initiative. How much it sticks at this point, who knows? But
it also does point to sort of the changing nature and the changing nature of politics and parties and memberships. And the one thing that the political parties don't want, right? The one thing that Republicans and Democrats agree upon is that they don't want to lose power.
oh,
Yes.
tell
And
me.
so whoever, when they're in power, they're getting bolder and bolder in terms of what they're willing to do to keep this power. Now, I want to talk about, you won't hear me say many good things about Joe Biden, but one of the things that Joe Biden did do was he did not pack the Supreme Court, which he
Right.
probably could have.
Hmm.
A lot of people complained that
The
the
Democrats wanted him to.
right, right. A lot of Democrats wanted to, and people complained that Mitch McConnell did not bring Merrick Garland to a vote when Anthony Scalia died. And for people who don't remember, Anthony Scalia was a conservative member of the Supreme Court, uh, and Barack Obama was in office, and he nominated Merrick Garland, who was the attorney later on became the attorney general or the solicitor general under under Biden. But the Republicans controlled the Senate, and they wouldn't schedule a vote on Merrick Garland.
Yeah, they
And
ran out
so
of
in the
clock.
end, right, then Trump came in, and Kavanaugh became not Kavanaugh, was
Gorsuch got
Gorsuch, the
got that
Colorado guy, yeah.
nomination, and then
Amy
Right, then it was
Barrett
Kavanaugh,
had
and then it was Amy Carey Coney Barrett.
Coney Barrett. Now, I just posted in a link. This is, what are solutions to gerrymandering? I know this young lady who did this. Slay the Dragon is the name of the movie, but it outlines a move in Michigan to basically take partisan or take redistricting out of the hands of the politicians.
yes.
They did a statewide ballot initiative, and not every state has ballot initiative. But she was able to start doing this. She started getting the petition signatures to get something on the ballot to basically create an independent redistricting commission that
Nice.
wasn't made up of politicians to redraw the boundaries of Michigan. And
So who did
yeah,
that?
so her name
Michigan.
is Katie Fahey. She's
Okay.
in Michigan.
Okay.
She got she organized, she got tons of volunteers, people came out of the woodworks, and it's really hard to do a statewide ballot initiative. The states don't make it very easy. If you miss an I, or you don't dot an I, you don't cross a T, they'll kick it out. So it's you got to get the resources like lawyers and things like that to review the constitutional amendment or the ballot initiative to make sure that it passes at least the state constitutional muster. So they get it on the ballot, they get it passed. The Republicans in Michigan tried to overturn it, and I think they lost that challenge. But Michigan now has an independent redistricting commission
Nice.
that takes it out. And again, the idea is to have the people elect their representatives and not have the representatives elect their people. And it's not as big of an issue here in West Virginia because we have two districts and we are, a 70% Republican voting state. So, I mean, we're going to have two Republicans. Well, maybe not after the Medicaid shit hits the fan, but
Well, I mean, I don't know how you could say that to Joe Manchin. I'm just saying.
well, Joe Manchin, well, he's part of the Cole families. A lot of the things in West Virginia are centered around coal and these political dynasties. So right now we've got Congressman Riley Moore, we've got Senator Shelley Moore Capito, two of the big political families, the Moores and the Capitos in the history of West Virginia that married, and there's Shelley Moore Capito. Her son um, uh, was recently, the day after her vote on the Medicaid, well, the one big beautiful bill, her son gets nominated to be the U.S. District Attorney, and there's just so much political incest here in the state of West Virginia. It is absolutely awful. And Joe Manchin is a money guy, family heritage here in the state, and yeah, was the kind of a last of the Mohicans when it came to the Democrats, last statewide elected Democrat standing, and he's no more. Now we've got another coal baron in Jim Baby Dog Justice, uh, the senator of the state, and
Just sounds
an
like boss
absolute
hog.
fucking
Sort of
embarrassment to all of humanity.
The there's also there's some tools out there. My favorite is districtbuilder.org, that would put it in the hands of a computer that, you could argue about what the code is
Yeah.
and stuff like that. But well, I find that when we try to make impartial panels at this point in time, what happens is then the partisans learn how to run for and control those
Sure.
impartial, those non-political groups, and it is, it's problematic. That's all there is to it.
I mean, you hook electrodes to them, and then when they fuck up, you just juice it a little bit.
Right. I mean, there's two things about it. First of all, the real answer.
That's
of
an
course,
insult to dingleberries, James.
Yeah. There's the first answer is, of course, that the real problem is that government has so much power that people want to get elected. And if we fix the problem, make it so the government doesn't have enough power that people want to get elected, we change a lot of things for the better.
Well, I told you my theory about how elections should happen. It's make representation like jury duty. You first January of the year, you go to your mailbox and, oh shit, I'm summoned to serve in Congress for the next 2 years. God damn it! How do I
Well,
get
I
out?
mean,
Of this? You can't get out.
right, like what they did in ancient Greece. But what's interesting is that this ties into what we want to talk about in terms of socialism. And many people will talk about Jean-Jacques Rousseau as the architect.
I loved his underwater adventures.
Yes, exactly. He
Or is he the inspector?
Inspector Rousseau. Yes, exactly. Do you have a massage for me? The but so Rousseau wrote in The Social Contract in 1647, I think, talking about two fundamental different issues. There's the will of the people, which is represented democratically in terms of what the people want. And then there is the general will, which is what the people actually want for society and would implement if they weren't voting for their self-interests. And those two things are often in conflict because we have frequently what's called NIMBYism, stands for not in my backyard.
Right.
So a lot of times people will say, I really wish there were affordable housing, but not in my backyard.
Right.
Yes.
And a great example of that right now, a friend of mine who I hope is listening lives out in the Berkshires in Northampton, Massachusetts, and rents in her building, which is one of the last affordable buildings around there, are going up 50% this year.
Wow.
And this is in what's supposedly affordable housing. And they're going up because they can get it, because the landlords can get it. But the reason why they can get it is because there is no more affordable housing being built. And the reason that no affordable housing is being built is not because the profit margins are so big. It's because the zoning regulations and the building requirements are so intense that if you have to go through $1 million approval process to build anything,
who can afford it?
You're going to build something that's going to sell for $2 million.
Right. Or more.
And right, exactly. And so we can fix a lot of these issues and a lot of the gerrymandering issues by trying to get government out of the way. However, since I am being Comrade Dan tonight and I'm representing the will of the people, I'm going to make the socialist argument here that and I just want to be clear, I'm very much not a socialist, but
you are Comrade Dan,
comrade. I am Comrade Dan. Right. I've done a lot of political theory, and I feel like one of the biggest problems that we have when we talk about this stuff is that people don't understand why anybody would choose socialism. And some people say that they choose socialism because they want greater social services, but social services actually have nothing to do with socialism, right? People say, oh, the fire department, that's socialism. But actually, no, the very first fire departments were private organizations. And in fact, people would have stamps on the side of
We
their
still have
buildings.
volunteer fire departments.
Well,
Right.
look, yes,
80% of the fire departments in the United States, 80% of the fire departments are volunteer fire departments.
Mhm.
So
that's not
people want,
socialism.
right, but people, right, that has nothing to do with socialism. Socialism only means one thing. It means the government controlling the means of production.
Mhm.
But why is that reassuring to so many people?
I control the memes of production.
Yeah, the means of production is very good. The reason why it's so reassuring to many people that government will control the means of production is because it means that government can make sure that everybody always has a job.
Mm.
And here's the thing,
And that
most
protects
people
government.
don't want handouts. They don't want to be taken care of. They don't want welfare. They want the opportunity to earn a living.
Yep.
But they don't care what that looks like, right? Even if it's a government guaranteed job, they're like, I'm still working. I work for my living. I get paid. I earn my keep. We should never disparage people who want that, who want to earn and be productive.
And when you think about it, they're just like all the rest of us. They're all working hard. They're trying to make a living, buy a house, raise their family. They're just like us.
I mean,
Yep.
it's the hierarchy of needs. You want to make sure that you're taken care of and that you're able to take care of your family. And I think a lot of people look at it like it's one less thing that I have to worry about because there's so many things. I mean, we are
Well-
in an information age and we're getting bombarded with this and that and the other. And we're almost overloaded by information. And I know we had a
Yeah.
good conversation about AI earlier and how that's going to change things. But
Yep.
I think the pull of socialism is definitely in the fact that if the government can guarantee me a job, and again, nothing's guaranteed, especially in this, a socialist system.
Mhm.
It's just one less thing I have to worry about. I know that I've got a job in the morning that I go to, and may not be fulfilling, and may not be what I want to do in my life, but at least I got income
Well,
coming
at least
in.
I've earned money. I can buy food. I can pay rent,
Yeah.
etc.
So
And
let's talk about this. I mean, I'm Joe Capitalist. I
Yep.
think we can all agree capitalism has raised people up, pulled people out of poverty. It's not the same as corporatism. Capitalism is a wonderful system. Perfect? No. Flawed? Yes. The best we've ever had? Absolutely. So when I look at people who want socialism or socialist pieces, look at this country. What makes socialism, to the degree we have it, work in this country? It's capitalism. If we have capitalism running and we have great profits and we have great economic vibrancy, we can afford to carry this socialist aspect and that socialist aspect on our capitalist backs. Without that, socialism fails, as we found in the Soviet Union or China.
Not
Why
even
has
just the
China
Soviet
done so
Union.
well?
Well,
Why has China done so well lately? China used to be as adamant or more communist socialist than even the Soviet Union, I think. But they have decided, oh, look at Hong Kong. They're doing really well over there. And now they're ours. What are we going to do? I mean,
Well-
even before that, they started
Well,
to implement elements of
it's no longer
capitalism.
communism there. They took communism out of it.
Right.
It's pure unadulterated authoritarianism
Yes.
with a
Right.
capitalist face on it.
But it is still fundamentally socialism because the government controls. There are no businesses in China that exist that the government doesn't want to exist.
Well, I mean, we
Okay.
can say that for here too. Licensing and all that stuff. I mean,
Well,
we've
point.
got independent operators, but
Yeah,
y-
I mean,
you turn-
there's-
if you let
it's-
the
it's-
state know,
it's
they're going to
easier.
rain down
It's
on us.
easier to start a business in the United States than
Yeah,
it is
sure.
anywhere else. And arguably, one of the greatest examples of that, right? One of the last bastions of pure capitalism in the United States, or pure socialism in the United States, was the taxi industry, right?
The what?
The taxi
Taxis.
industry,
Okay.
completely controlled by the government. You had to get what's called a hackney license. And in fact, in New York City, where there were more cabs than anything else, you bought what's
Millions.
called a medallion that
Mhm.
gave you the right to operate a taxi cab. And each taxi had to have its own medallion.
Mm.
And then people would buy the medallions for, at one point in time, they were selling for almost $1 million each.
Oh yeah.
Oh my God.
But then that allowed that car to be used 24 hours a day. So
Mm.
different drivers would come in. And the way generally the taxi business worked across the United States was you would come in and you would pay the taxi company $40
Mhm.
or $60 or whatever to rent the car for the day. And then any money that you made was your profit. And
Mhm.
usually the company would front you the $40. So you would come back in and then pay them the $40 at the end of the day, take the rest of your change home. But all of that was run by the government because the government controlled the licenses that you could get. And nobody else could work as a taxi driver unless they had access to the medallion, which you could only get from the government. And
And
so
then they limited
suddenly,
it, which made them a lot more valuable.
right.
Right.
It's
Well,
just
And
like
that
liquor
is
licenses and things like that. The
right.
more you limit them, the more valuable they become. The
well,
more
Well,
I
and
for
read
that is
everybody in
the
general.
recently it's the same thing in Montana with trash collection. If you want to start a wonderful refuse disposal and trash collection business, you can do that in Montana, but you need to go to the existing providers, the people who are currently doing the trash collection in that same area, and ask them permission for you to compete against them.
right.
Guess
And
how often that happens?
probably zero. And
Zero is right. Ding,
the
ding,
other
ding, ding. Dan wins again. Pay him the lottery ticket.
the other
Um,
the other great example of this, of course, is the post office, which has a
yes.
monopoly on letter delivery. Now, as it
Wow.
turns out, the monopoly on letter delivery didn't include packages because nobody saw how big that was going to be. And now you see FedEx and UPS and all these other things.
Oh,
Both of these examples, we can go back and look at the competition. I am
oh,
old enough that I remember riding in a cab in New York City, and invariably, the first thing that you thought when you got into the cab was, this smells a lot like urine. The last time I took a cab in New York City, the only time I smelled urine, it was my own.
Oh, well, there you
so,
go. Hey,
yeah.
winner.
Much
So,
better.
Dan,
Here,
Anybody who knows cabs were terrible. The post office was terrible. It's not
let's,
bad in terms of individual letter delivery, but nobody,
all right,
right? You wouldn't send a package via the post
a
office if you wanted
couple,
to make sure it's going to get there the next day.
I'm going to add to that, Dan, a couple
Yep.
comments about the Postal Service. First of all, you're right. It's a government monopoly, and it served its purpose very well for decades or centuries. Now, when I think about packages, you're right. That changed dramatically with Amazon. It changed with uh, FedEx. There's a lot of changes that took place. But even regular mail, you know what? I don't get a piece of paper mail in my mailbox every month for my internet service. It's all electronic. I get an email, I get a text, I pay the bill. Boom! You've just eliminated the United States Postal Service. And I'd just like to say nostalgically, there was a time in my youth where, and I'm stealing a line from a play I went to, but damn it, we used to lick postage stamps, everyone.
I mean, my favorite was the Marilyn Monroe stamps.
What's that?
But, you know, actually,
Dave.
So
look at Matt's comment here that we
yeah,
socialize losses and privatize profits, and we have. I mean, 2008, we absolutely did that. We socialized all of the losses of the auto industry,
Yes.
and then we allowed them. Now, we can say, well, the automakers ended up paying those loans back.
Doesn't matter. We should have let them cook. If they couldn't compete, we should have let them fail. We should have let them negotiate with their creditors
Same
and
with the banks.
reconstitute themselves. But
and
we blew it.
we completely blew it. And I remember so clearly,
I do remember.
right, 2008, when Obama and McCain, who were both senators at the time, go back to deal with the 2008 collapse. And I know it's 17 years ago, and most of our listeners weren't alive then, but it was a big deal at the time. The stock market dropped over 50%. It was, people thought it was financial Armageddon. And what ended up happening was the government bailed out the housing industry. And there are a couple great movies about this. I can't recommend The Big Short enough, with Brad Pitt and Steve Carell and other stars. The Batman. I can't remember his name right now.
I'll make a comment or two. I don't care if it was the .com bust or the housing bust. I don't care. We need to when businesses fail, guess what? That is a normal evolution in the business cycle.
Yep.
Businesses hang in there and some are gone. That's okay. Something better always comes, but you got to let them do it, damn it.
Well, and the thing about it is that, Democrats generally argue in favor of forms of wealth redistribution, okay, whether it's through taxes or something else. If we had allowed AIG and Shearson Lehman and JP Morgan to fail, it would have been an enormous redistribution of wealth. And you know who wouldn't have been hurt particularly? Is the people who don't have a lot of money in banks.
Exactly. And
So-
that's the thing. Our system right now is set up that it favors the people that have the money.
Yep.
And
Protects
really
their
any
own.
system does. Whether how the money gets to those people is really more about how the system is set up. But we've allowed the system to be, Joe, I know you talked about capitalism versus corporatism, but we're in a corporatist system. We are in a system that the next time we have something happen, the next
But
time we have
corporatism-
something too big to fail, we are going to be right back in the same place.
I
Whenever
agree.
the housing market bubble bursts and the banks start getting really antsy, when our tariffs start decimating our car industry, start decimating our our fast food industry, and
Yep.
people stop going out to eat.
Corporatism and cronyism are both forms of socialism.
Yes, absolutely.
It is the government controlling the means of production.
It is. And we
And
have it right
picking
here in the
picking
US
winners
of A.
and losers.
right, that's exactly it. When
I mean, look at
government controls the means
COVID.
of production. Yeah.
Well, but look at COVID. We picked several winners: Amazon, Walmart, places that delivered
Well-
were deemed essential services.
Yeah,
Well,
but
I would
Dave-
argue they were positioned, but where we really picked winners was Home Depot, Walmart, big box stores,
Yeah,
right? As opposed to mom and pop hardware stores that
Well,
got shut down
you
because
could
they
you
were
could
not
argue
essential.
you could argue the fact though
Restaurants.
that the COVID virus never penetrated those stores,
Trading
which made
places, I
them
love that.
safe, right?
I mean,
I mean,
I don't
I'm
know
being
about that.
totally facetious here, guys.
Oh, I was going to say, I mean, there are certainly places where you can point to, spreading. There's a famous case in Colorado in Breckenridge, which during the off season only has one open grocery store, and one person in the store was infected and infected 30 people in town. There's something to that, and
Yep.
this small little store isn't going to have the things that I don't know what the big grocery chain is, but a Kroger or a Safeway or a Stop and Shop is going to have in terms of their ability to keep people safer and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's stupid. The government shouldn't get involved in it. All of those things. The government definitely picked winners and losers.
They did.
during
and they
COVID.
got people to go along with them, and it affected people like me. For example, I used to always shop after I moved to the State College area. I used to always shop at a particular grocery store called Wegmans. I was
Yep.
impressed. I was impressed with Wegmans. They were, I mean, they were. It was an amazing store, and their local competition was Weiss and Giant. And I typically wouldn't go to those stores. I just went to Wegmans. But then during COVID, I remember I'm pulling up one day in the dead of winter. It's freaking cold outside. And what do I see? I see taped lines on their sidewalk, people in masks waiting to get in. And I'm thinking, this looks like a Soviet bread line. I just want my damn groceries. And I went over to Weiss. They let me in. I never had a problem. I shopped, got everything. I haven't quit going.
Well,
So,
I'll say two things about that. First of all, that could be good capitalism because then the people who really were freaked out about it could go to Wegmans and wait in line and get security theater that they wanted because that's what some people want. And it comes back to our thing about why do people pick socialism? Because some
they
people
feel safe.
exactly. It's like when Thor, not Thor, Loki. When Loki comes down, right, and he says, "Is this not better? Is this not the way it was meant to be?" You kneeling in front of a god, that sort of thing, because there are people who want to believe that they can be taken care of, and so then it absolves them of the responsibility, and
Yes.
it makes them worry less. I'll
And
tell you, as a person,
that's the problem, Dan. That's the problem with our entire electorate.
sure.
They are dumbed down, they are disengaged, they play the team aspect instead of voting for the right candidate. And you're absolutely nailing it.
Well,
But I mean, well, hold on a second. How do you determine who the right candidate is?
Well, let's put it to you this way. Let's say you have a third party candidate who can't get traction, who's desperately working hard to get noticed, to get on the debate stage, to just get, and you've got these two Republican and Democrat candidates who have been in power for 175 years. Those two parties. I'm sorry, but if you have any problem with government, it lays directly at their feet. If you can
Oh, it
go
does.
in,
But that begs the question then, we're talking about capitalism here, and you're talking about when it comes to capitalism, the most powerful vote that you have is the vote with your dollar.
yes,
You pick winners and losers every day, but you're making that choice.
absolutely.
In a capitalist system, if you in a free market, let's say a free market electoral system,
Mhm.
if we're not making headway as a third party, we're
why
the
aren't
the
people buying? Why
poli-
aren't people
people
buying
are
what you're selling?
the
It,
people are making their choice.
And
They're
this is
voting
a
with
yes,
great
their
they
point.
vote.
are. But here's
This
the
is a great
thing.
point because the thing is what do people want, and why do people choose socialism?
All right, let's talk about the third party thing and how it dovetails with socialism and capitalism. I've been a third party candidate 3 times over. I've constantly tried to present myself as a liberty guy, somebody who's good for the people, somebody who is for their rights, not for the party's agenda. That's been me. And there's been many, many, many other people like me, better than me. And I can clearly say it is difficult to get the media's attention. The R's and D's try to do everything they can at every turn to squash us so that we can't get on the ballot or that we can't be heard because they're setting the damn rules. It is a tough, tough, tough uphill battle. Now, you may say that does or does not interface with capitalism. I think it does. I think we're trying to present the best possible candidate, and that's who we're all supposed to be voting for, if that's the
Yeah.
candidate of our choice.
I mean,
But
I
I
will
want to.
talk about I'll talk
Go ahead,
about
Dave.
electoral systems and there are fundamental issues with our electoral system that prevents us from any third party from making headway, and that really is
But
how
but you're missing the point.
What in the
Why do
world is
people
that?
pick socialism?
Say again?
What?
Why do
Because
people pick socialism?
it's not just socialism. They're picking what they feel it makes them will
It's
make
what
them
they
safer.
makes them feel exactly makes them feel safe, and that is the part about politics that is, first of all, libertarians need to recognize this part that we don't do anything to make anybody feel safe.
And you know
We
what?
don't say
You're
we're going to take
nailing
care
it,
of
Dan.
you. We're going to
We
say just the opposite. We're going to put you on your own, and we're not going to take care of you. And
Dan,
so
you're nailing it.
everybody who wants to be taken care of doesn't want a libertarian.
And I'm not saying that libertarian people, and I don't mean party, I mean libertarian philosophy. I'm talking about people who are for everybody else, people who are for personal liberty. Those people are putting themselves out there as the best possible candidates. But you're right, Dan. If the
I would disagree
electorate,
on the Libertarian Party of New Hampshire. But yeah,
if yeah, well, they're so they're idiots. We all
they're a
know
special
that. But
case.
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, they're we have to ignore them because they're lunatics. But Dan, you're nailing it. People want what's safe, and when they have to put forward, like we individuals of liberty say, you've got to be willing to take a chance. You got to put yourself out there. Some people are not willing to do that, and it hit me when I was running for state representative. It hit me when I was speaking to a group of students at Penn State University. And it was with, I think it was the Young Americans of Liberty. And I'm thinking I'm with a very, very friendly crowd. And believe me, I was. They're listening to me, they're asking great questions. And all of a sudden, this very young man, no more than 20, and he's from China. And he pipes up and he says, he basically said, we don't want liberty. We want our leader. He tells us what to do. It's very, very safe. And that gives us comfort. And I'm looking at him. And at that moment, as the candidate, I'm astounded. I'm like, oh my God, this person doesn't want freedom. They want
Right.
safety. And it changed me for a moment. And
Well,
there are
that's
those people out there.
that's
I
why
mean,
we have Donald Trump.
well, there's the Ben Franklin quote first, right? Which son of Pennsylvania? I'll let you give it unless you want me to. Those who are willing to sacrifice a little liberty for security deserve neither.
Deserve neither. Yes,
Right.
you nailed it.
So there's that
Thank
part
you,
of it.
Ben Franklin.
Yeah, that's
That
part
was
of it.
we should all hang together while we'll all hang separately. But
And
Right.
when we people like us, and I'm counting you guys as us, but maybe it's more me. Those of us who so desire liberty at the sake of everything else are willing to sacrifice everything else for that very personal liberty.
But so where you get into problems with that now is that the nature of the government that you live under is a democracy.
Mhm.
And if more people want security than want liberty, you lose your liberty.
I know. That's the
And
sad part. This is
right.
the dumbing down of our electorate. This is not the same people that started this country, and this is not the same people who were our founding fathers.
But there are a lot of very smart people right now who think that where society is heading, and this is again going back to my point of why do people choose socialism?
Mhm.
That they see an accumulation of wealth and of the means of production into the hands of the very few.
And you know
And
what? A
so
lot of that,
with the AI coming on, and people say 50% of entry-level jobs will be done by AI in 5 years. That is a massive shift of the workforce.
yes, it is.
Okay, there are not going to be any trucking jobs left. There's not going to be any stocking jobs left. Waiters, line cooks, all that stuff. That stuff is probably all going away. And you can see a lot of smart people saying to themselves, but if AI is controlled by 5 companies, what does that mean for us? How do we
Absolutely.
prevent them from monetizing, from just cranking the dial and increasing their profits and making the rest of us live like paupers?
You can understand their suspicion. Absolutely. Because how many times have certain segments of our economy come to be controlled, as you said, by maybe five large corporations, and
Yep.
it doesn't pan out well. If that's going to be AI, it's not going to pan out well.
Yeah.
And
And
I mean,
go ahead,
we
Dave.
saw the Gilded Age of the late
Yep.
1800s, early 1900s, and the result of that was the explosion of socialism, the socialist pushback that really kind of set the stage for the rest of the century. In that
Labor
we
union.
we started with taxing, and we started Federal Reserve and all this stuff that put a lot more control into into the centralized government. And there was a pushback against socialism because it went too far. And you saw things like the Soviet Union come out, and people kind of pulled back. Oh, I don't know if I want that kind of that level of control in our lives.
Mhm.
um you know it's an ebb and a flow, and I think
It
if
is.
AI, we're seeing the consolidation of wealth into a very few hands. I mean, just thinking about how much money Elon Musk has,
Yeah.
like, estimates being anywhere from 389 to about $425 billion.
Mhm.
I can't even wrap my head around that number. Like
Nor can
you
I.
just, I mean,
But you
it's
know
just,
what?
it's fundamentally unfathomable that one person has that much money, and then you've got other people. Your Jeff Bezos's, his wife or ex-wife. You've got other people. I mean, hell, even Donald Trump supposedly has $2 billion. I mean, there's very few people that have this just massive wealth, and then everybody else is struggling. People are seeing the struggle, and
You
that's
know,
the thing about the internet. Is the thing about the internet technology is that we're seeing our friends and neighbors struggle. We're seeing the young people who, back when our parents were kids, were dreaming about buying houses. Kids now have no fucking idea that they're ever going to be able to buy a house.
but you,
That they're stuck with student loan debt, and they're stuck with all this other bullshit that we, the I see the anger. I see the it's bubbling up, and I see, we've got this Donald Trump right now that is trying to wreak havoc over all of us. But
Well,
the young
we,
people right now the reaction is going to come, and we're going to get thrown into almost a
my
whiplash, rejection of Donald Trump into more of a
well,
supremely authoritarian
it
socialist,
could
I would
be,
say.
eh,
and one of the things I worry about, you know, I see comments from younger generation saying all Social Security should be abolished now. Now, think about that comment. You have
right.
people like me who have paid into Social Security for 50 years just to have the government completely mismanage it. If they decide let's abolish Social Security now, who's the big winner there? Only the U.S. government, because you
Right.
are allowing them to uh, relinquish their obligation to their obligations.
Well, I
That's
mean, the
not
thing is,
good.
though, I mean, the argument is, who is the U.S. government, right? The
What do you?
government isn't
What,
isn't somebody. The
well,
government is us also, because
yes,
the
it
government
is,
has no
but
money. It only has our money.
you got to admit the government doesn't usually play by our rules. They play
100%.
by their
And
duopoly
I
rules.
definitely agree that
You
abolishing Social Security with a snap of the fingers is a terrible idea. But
now
I
that
do think that they
I
could
can
start
speak
letting
about Social Security.
they
I
could
mean,
start letting 22, 23-year-olds opt out of it.
Invest,
But
yeah,
well,
but
or
Social
yes,
Security, of course, isn't
that's
socialism either.
that. But that
Socialism,
Dan, you're nailing it. That's the solution. We need to turn around and say, what is our solution to Social Security?
well, I
The
mean, they tried
solution,
to do this back in 2000. Like they
yes,
had
but they
this discussion,
failed.
and it failed hard.
yeah.
They failed. And
There's no
since that
lockbox, to
time,
quote the page.
Dave, I have had
Box.
not that
Yeah.
I had respect for AARP before, but AARP pushed back when George W. Bush simply wanted 2% to go into privatization. It clearly showed they were not
I
for
mean,
a
you remember the
solution.
old people attacking senators and shit like that, but like
I am one of those
going
old
after
people
them.
right now,
Well, no,
almost
no, back
68.
in 2000. You
Yeah.
were a young pup back in 2000.
Well, I was
But
a
the
little younger. I'll
AARP
say that.
Right.
AARP was dragging people out to protest senators, and they would, they were
AARP is so
going after 'em.
desperate. AARP is so desperate. They reach out to people who are 40, 41 to be members. I'm sorry.
Oh yeah, I'm getting.
You're not-
I've gotten all the. Somebody
Well,
signed me up.
Dave,
to
you're
do
over
it,
50.
so.
But
Yeah,
I'll tell you,
somebody signed me up.
I'm a member of AARP because, dude, the Dunkin' Donuts discounts are unbelievable.
I have never joined AARP, nor will I. And here's why: because I think they're counterproductive. I think that the solution to Social Security is simple. The government needs to step to the plate and say, we are going to allow everybody age 20 and forward to opt out. And if they opt out, what does that look like? Well,
Yeah.
the 6.2% that we typically withhold from you, we're going to require that you invest that same money in an IRA, in a 401k. You may already have both, but you need to invest that 6.2%. Now, how about the employer's share that gets matched that most people don't even think about? That
Yeah.
employer's share continues to go to the federal government to fund Social Security while we start to phase out of it. It's going to take 40 years, folks. It's going to take two
Well,
generations.
and
But
it's
if
going to
we,
be
If
it's
we're
going to be
still
even
here in
worse than
40
that
years.
because
It-
Social Security last year, at 2023, Social Security paid about $1.4 trillion out. This year, it's supposed to be about $1.6 trillion. You know, our GDP is about 30 trillion.
look, you're asking how are we going to fund this?
Well,
Right, Dan?
I'm just saying we know that it's unfundable.
Sell
I
off
think
It is
Mar-a-Lago.
fundable. It can be done. Look,
Right.
I love the American defense, but you all know we spend more than the next 8 countries combined, and those 8 countries are our allies. We
Yep.
need to pare back our military spending. We need to make it much more effective, much less wasteful, and we can fund Social Security until we can get the damn out of it, and we can in 40 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'll go back to then. First of all, why Social Security came to pass, and again talking about socialism and why people choose socialism, because prior to socialism, prior to Social Security, which is implemented in the Truman administration, a lot of old people went hungry. Okay, they didn't have children to take care of them. They didn't have the ability to eat, and people didn't want to see old people panhandling on the street.
Mhm,
And that's reasonable.
mhm.
And the church did some stuff, but fundamentally, the argument was that a society as well as wealthy as ours shouldn't be in that scenario. And so what they did was government socialized the idea of a retirement plan. And they actually set up a business that people could have done, and lots of people do, right? Lots of people still have private retirement plans.
Yes,
The government
that actually make money.
exactly took the means of production, and then for a brief period of time, they actually did keep the money in a lockbox. But
You mean
since then,
like Al Gore said,
Al-
in a lock box?
exactly right. But
Yes.
since then, they've spent all the money.
You made Al
There's
Gore's
nothing left.
heart go
They
pivot.
haven't just spent the money, Dan. They've hijacked the money. You and I both know that.
I mean,
Well,
it's yeah.
and
They're
I think we
spending.
we know the stats. Like, back when it first started, there was like 8 workers for every 1 person on Social Security. Now
Right.
it's like less than 2 to 1.
It's
Right.
almost 1 to 1.
Now, here's the thing.
Yeah.
Let's go back again to the socialism aspect of it, because now we are on the verge of a revolution that is bigger than the Industrial Revolution. It's bigger than the communications revolution. The AI revolution is going to dramatically change the production, the means of production, and the wealth in the country. So when
you
the
see
Industrial
that,
Revolution came on, the world immediately became wealthier because the capacity for production was enhanced enormously.
Mhm.
When the communication revolution, and I'm talking about the beginning of the computers, come along, okay, it ended like you ask a kid today, what's a travel agent? They're like, well, I don't know, right? All these businesses that went away because the internet came online.
Yep.
But now we're on the verge of another cusp. And a socialist, a real socialist will tell you this is our opportunity. This is why government should be controlling AI and the means of production so
No,
that we can guarantee
no,
Social Security and
no.
all these other things. Because it makes
Government,
people
you
feel
know
safe.
as well as I do, Dan, if government controls it, they will screw it up. I mean, they've proved it time and time again.
Well, not just screw it up, but they'll use it for their. I mean, look at Palantir. They'll
Yeah.
use it for their own nefarious purposes
And they
to
will end up
exert control.
bankrupting the very process.
So, I mean, those are the arguments against socialism. But the thing I want to do, because I didn't feel like we gave it a fair shake last time, is to explain that there are a lot of people with good conscience who will point to the Adam Smith quote from The Wealth of Nations,
Let's hear it. I love
where
it.
Adam Smith says, two people of the same trade seldom meet, but the conversation ends in a conspiracy against the public. And we see that a lot. Okay. You see that all the time where businesses conspire to raise prices together
Mhm.
or to do other things. The government, there is a legitimate thing to say that if the government doesn't police business, businesses conspire against the people. And you can look at other things about it. You can say, okay, there's a reason for the government to control the means of production of food. Now,
No,
we'll let
no.
anybody grow food, but we won't let anybody sell food without putting labels on it. Hey, labels is fundamentally socialism.
What if somebody just wants to buy onions, produce onions, sell onions? What I don't see the problem.
Yeah, you're right. If it's an onion, it doesn't need much. On the other hand, if it's a box that came out of a plant, as my mother used to say, if it's a plant, government shouldn't be involved. If it came out of a plant, then, or if it was manufactured in a plant, then there should be some government oversight. My mother was a Democrat.
Your
Um,
mother was smart. Your mother was very smart.
oh yeah, I'm the
Yeah, I
dumb
mean,
teacher.
Unfortunately, Dan, our current electorate is not as smart as your mother.
Right.
Just saying. They vote and play for team rather than who's the best candidate. They
But
vote
so
and play for team rather than what's the best solution.
again, that's the issue that socialists find so much comfort in, is that there are people like me and like you who say the problem is that the electorate is too stupid to make decisions for themselves. And they're
They've
certainly
proven
too
that.
stupid to make decisions for me.
Now, I'm not for overriding the electorate and doing something nasty which defames them. I'm really for wanting to see the electorate come to light. That's me.
Yeah, well,
I mean that's how you have to frame the argument. You can't say, well, we've done the dumb thing. You've got to come back and say, all right,
Well,
I want to present you with a
Dave,
future of this is how I've envisioned the future going if you elect me.
well, Dave,
But I get too many people who are like, we can't let that fucker get elected. There's too much of that going on in our elections, and
well,
we are selling fear. People sell fear all the fucking
well,
time
because people
because
want security.
people
isn't
want
that what
security.
isn't that though what the Democrats and Republicans constantly sell? Fear and hate. The only reason they keep getting reelected is because at any given time, one of those two parties is able to convey, I suck just a little less than the other party. and
Well,
people buy it.
what
But
they're selling security. They're selling the
Yeah.
security that if
Trump
the
sold that
Republicans
he
get
was
elected, right? If the Republicans get elected, I think this is the joke that I'm used to make 20 years ago. Okay, Republicans want you to believe that if you elect Democrats, people are going to be able to marry their cats and dogs and all sorts of permissiveness and stuff like that. And the Democrats want you to believe that if the Republicans get elected, they're going to bring back slavery. They bring this fear and say the only way you can be safe against that eventuality is to vote for us.
yes,
And
and
I suck
both of those
less than
people,
them.
both of those people, both of those parties are fundamentally promoting socialism.
Yep,
I mean,
The idea that
let,
the
let
government
because
controls
that
the
gives them
means of
power.
production.
That's
Right,
what gives them power.
well,
right,
look. I mean, look at this last election where you've got Donald Trump saying that, Kamala Harris wants to give prisoners sex change operations.
right.
I'm for you. She's for they them.
It said, right,
Or
my,
and
right,
conversely, Kamala Harris is like Donald Trump is the most dangerous human that has ever
Well,
lived on the face of this
exactly.
earth, and
I mean, you look at
neither
Donald
candidate
Trump.
made a great case for them. Donald Trump just has a bigger cult than Kamala Harris had.
What he's
He
done
has
is
the huge call.
he has united more people against the other side.
Yes.
And that's the critical element. And this goes back to, where, we've talked about this, and we don't have enough time left to get into this, but the Democratic Party will not ever come back to power so long as it's willing to marginalize everybody that doesn't adhere to its core principle.
Leadership. Well,
Yeah,
it's
right.
leadership.
Sure. Well, we talked about this, right? We talked about the fact that Gavin Newsom, right, was essentially almost ridden out of the Democratic Party for saying that he believes in gender protected sports. Okay. My ex congressman, Seth Moulton, okay, great Democrat. And when I say that, I don't think there's any great Democrats, but Harvard Business School, Marine, first troops into Baghdad. Seth Moulton, by any definition, would be a great Democrat. But when he said that he didn't want his girls playing soccer against boys, oh my God, they almost ripped the shit out of this guy. He's a Massachusetts Democrat. And the problem is what that issue really is about is fracturing the Democratic electorate.
Mm.
And as long as there's anybody who insists on absolutism there, that's where the Democrats are broken. Okay.
Yep.
And if you say that absolutely you have to accept it or absolutely you don't have to accept it one way or the other, that plays into the Republicans' game book. And so that issue, which really, who really cares about it? Okay. A lot of times you'll hear people say, well, it only affects 10 athletes at the NCAA level or something like that. Those 10 athletes versus the number of people who think it's an issue, if you're going to play a political game, that's the political game. Okay. And as long as you allow yourself to be fractured by fear, and abortion was like this for a long time. The fact of the matter is that where we are in abortion, I think most people in the United States believe that a woman has a right to an abortion, but they also believe that a third trimester abortion is abhorrent.
Yes.
And it's probably murder.
Yes.
And yet we have two parties that won't allow a compromise on that because they need to use it as an issue to fracture the electorate.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
the other problem, of course,
it's divide and conquer. It's the same thing that the British did for ages throughout
right.
the
And because we don't have
colonial
choice
world.
voting, because we have first past the post.
I'm going to make a comment here that is much needed. And Dan, damn it, you really made a.
We're going to go to the quiz.
We need the quiz now.
Yeah,
go
let's
for
quiz it up, baby.
Yeah, baby.
And we can do socialism versus capitalism again, Nick.
No, we are not going to do. Actually, you know what? Let's do AI next week.
Okay,
sounds good to me.
I tell you what. I will enable AI to participate in the conversation.
Sounds good, Dan.
All right, the 5 Things News Quiz for August 8th, 2025. So it's Friday. So things that happened late Friday and yesterday and today are not on this quiz, which is good because I didn't pay attention to shit this weekend. All right. So our context clues: we got firefighters, we had a big container ship, and that doesn't look good. A flurry of subpoenas, a wave of tariffs, an elusive snake. What do you remember from the week that was? Not much. All right, question number 1. President Donald Trump's new tariffs are now in effect. Which country was hit with the highest tariff rate? Brazil, Canada, China, or Mexico?
I honestly don't know, but I would guess Brazil. But I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to guess
I,
Brazil as well.
okay, yeah, because I heard something about coffee.
I mean,
Well,
if it's Brazil, just Trump's an ass.
Oh,
But
but you know what? Brazil, because Bolsonaro, I think
yeah,
maybe
the
they're
whole
doing better. Brady
Bolsonaro
also says.
thing.
All right.
Randy says Brazil. James says Mexico. Yeah, I think it's Brazil because of the whole Bolsonaro thing. They're using tariffs
Exactly. To
as a
try to get
punishment
Bolsonaro
here.
back in. I
Yeah,
agree.
let's see.
that's correct. Brazil has a rate of 50%, highest of any country. Which who pays these?
The
America.
consumer. The consumer pays them.
The Americans pay this.
Yes.
Tariffs or
So
taxes that Americans pay. Right.
Thanks,
Who's paying
Trump.
for Brazilian
Thanks,
coffee?
Trump. Stick your head
Americans
up
are
your
paying
ass a
more.
little further.
Right. Right. And the thing about it is that sometimes you'll hear them saying, well, you know what? He puts that tariffs on so that will encourage American industries. Americans aren't growing more coffee.
yeah,
Nope. Nope.
yeah. I mean, you've got your coffee growers in Hawaii,
Yeah, exactly.
maybe some of the other islands like American
Well,
Samoa.
you're right. You know,
Or,
I hadn't thought about it. There's all that unused land in Hawaii.
yeah,
I don't.
yeah.
I don't think.
Where there's active volcanoes.
I don't think Mrs. Olson is talking about the Folgers Great Coffee in Nebraska. Just saying.
No,
Exactly.
not at all. Question number 2: which of the following flavors does Doritos think will be the next Cool Ranch? Oh, cookies and cream, mint
No.
mojito,
No.
golden sriracha, or pink bubblegum?
I think it's golden
Cookies and
showers.
cream.
In
I'll
honor
go
of
with
Donald
golden
Trump, golden
sriracha.
showers.
Golden
I'll go
showers.
with golden sriracha.
I think it's golden sriracha too. I had a friend who
Right?
used to be on the Doritos test market thing, and they would get bags of free Doritos of crazy flavors.
How do you get on that, man? I want to get on that.
Mm.
All right. So Brady says golden sriracha as well. I'm inclined to believe that because all the other, well, mojito might be okay, but the others not so much. Correct. The tortilla chip maker thinks it's found the next big flavor with golden sriracha, a newly released permanent addition to the grand hope eliminate the popularity of Cool Ranch and nacho cheese. I'm not a huge fan. I'm like sriracha's okay. I'm not a
Well, I
huge.
like sriracha.
I mean, it's
But
okay.
Let's
so
There
try
are a
it.
whole lot of other hot sauces I like better than sriracha.
exactly. Right.
Let's try
Tapatio,
it.
Cholula,
No.
those are
Yes.
different.
Dave, let's try it together. It's socialism.
No.
Right. If the government owned the means of production, there would only be 3 flavors of chips.
If that. Question number 3: the House Oversight Committee issued a dozen subpoenas this week for information related to which of the following, and you can see it in the background.
Yeah, that's clearly Epstein.
Yeah, the Epstein files. We won't even go through the choices. Yeah, his mugshot. Piece of shit. Subpoenas asked that all files related to Jeffrey Epstein at the Justice Department, as well as any communication between the former Biden administration officials and the DOJ related to the case, be handed over to Congress. What about the Trump administration? The dude died during the last Trump administration.
Right.
Yeah,
He was in
absolutely.
prison, in custody, while Donald Trump was in charge of the Justice Department, charged with a federal crime.
Let's call it the Trump Epstein files.
Right.
Yeah.
That would be awesome if they started.
So,
files.
Ghislaine Maxwell got sent to a minimum security prison.
Yes.
Exactly.
Where she will probably commit suicide.
So much easier to get out. In fact, there was apparently shots fired around that facility the other day. So, yeah, I'm fully expecting that the moment that she's getting closer to testifying, that she will mysteriously fall on a knife blade 35
Yeah.
times.
So let's go to number 4. We know what the answer is already.
Yeah. 4. Which tactic did Democrats in Texas use to block state lawmakers from voting on a GOP drawn congressional map this week? Leaving the state, calling out sick, filing a lawsuit, or sent GOP lawmakers barbecue? That might have. No, that wouldn't have.
It would have lured them in. It's Scott Walker had a great op-ed in the Washington Post about how he dealt with this when he was the governor of Wisconsin. And Wisconsin had a similar sort of thing, and they fled the border, and they also went to Illinois, where the
Oregon's done this
Texas
too.
lawmakers are handing out. However, Walker got everybody back, or he got enough people back to have a quorum. And he did it by getting the constituents to lobby the representatives and say, look, you may not like what's going to happen here, but we elected you to do a job. This is the job that we want you to do. So go back and vote however you want. In this case, though, I think that it's a different thing than anything else that we've talked about, because the Republicans are talking about changing the nature of the makeup of Congress immediately. Here's what the Democrats should do, in my opinion. They should say, we're willing to come back and work on comprehensive redistricting and come up with a formula, and then to protect that formula so that it can't be changed anymore by the majority. But let's have a permanent solution. Because as you said, Dave, these districts that they're going to make, they're not going to be able to hold them.
No.
And, I think that there's a pretty good chance the Democrats are going to take the Senate back. It's close.
Well,
But
midterms, yes.
Well, the problem the Democrats face in the Senate, notwithstanding the kind of dire situation Trump finds himself in when it comes to polling, but
right.
is the fact that Democrats are fighting for more Senate seats. They're the incumbents in more Senate seats this time.
So
There's a couple of targets that they could look at, but if this does go off the rails, now I will say that the one big beautiful bill, all those bad things that are going to happen when it comes to Medicare and Medicaid and all that stuff, that is delayed until after the 26th election. So that's not going to be a factor. But a lot of these other things that are going on, the immigration stuff, the disappearing of people, the the inflation, the beef, the coffee,
Right.
all of that
But
stuff.
you
That
mentioned
could
all these things
make it a
about
wave election.
Yeah,
Right.
you mentioned all these things, and I think those are all legitimate and valid. We can't forget the fact that he's a rapist of underage girls, and people are not going to like that very much.
Yeah, I think what's happening right now is we are getting tricked, well, what they call trickle truth. Where a lot of times when people are cheating in a relationship or things like that, they trickle truth out. They control the flow of information, and the hope is to make you so tired that by the time that the big reveal comes, it's pretty much you're expecting it, and the the
You know,
you're tired of
it real
of the
yeah,
information coming out.
I hear you, but it doesn't matter what other
Oh,
people
I
are
know.
and
I
their
think it's
sins and their indiscretions, but this is something that should be brought to the forefront for our current president without question.
and it is. I think a lot of the reason why he's underwater is on a lot of stuff, not so much that it's actually impacting people right now. I know that some of the inflation is impacting people. People are seeing his immigration rates and things like that. But I think that people are souring on the Trump administration because of his handling of the Epstein files. And when they finally get confirmation that he was in the Epstein files, we'll see even more of a
They,
wave against it.
and we all know he was in them multiple times. That's a
Oh
given.
yeah. But yeah, they
Yeah.
left the state. They're currently being hunted by FBI and all kinds of people. I'm hoping they've gotten out of the country at this point.
Mm,
Yeah, it's tough. It's a
absolutely.
tough spot.
Yeah. Question number 5. The Trump administration is making plans to increase the federal law enforcement presence in which city? Los Angeles, New York City, Washington, D.C., or Chicago?
I
I
know
know this.
because I live here.
Yeah,
I don't know.
it's D.C.
Yeah.
In fact, FBI is on the streets of D.C. right now.
Well, let's face it. If he's walking on the roof of the White House where anyone can pick him off, I can understand why they might want more security.
Diddler on the roof.
Yes.
Nice. That's
Hi, I'm up
outstanding.
here. Take your
If I
shot.
was
Take
a
your best shot.
pedo, I'd have Jeffrey Epstein murdered in jail. Sorry.
Yeah, that's pretty funny.
Yeah, so Washington, D.C. is the answer here. Move comes after a former Doge employee, Kyle Big Balls, I can't remember his last name. Big Balls was his
Yeah.
nickname, was beaten
Yeah.
down.
Yep.
Yeah, so they said it was an attempted carjacking. I mean,
I don't know.
in DC, carjackings happen all the time. Why
Look,
they're doing a federal takeover because Kyle Big Balls got attacked is, to me
right.
is absolutely federal overreach.
Right. It's huge federal overreach. DC definitely has a crime problem. They
Yeah.
can fix a lot of it by just legalizing drugs, ending the war on drugs in DC, and put those
Yes.
law enforcement powers to use on other things.
Nailing it.
I think
Dan.
they could deal with a lot of
Nailing
those
it.
issues if you just remove the protections around the White House. That's just me.
Dan, I love your comments. Thank you.
Yep.
Question number 6: which blaze is now the largest wildfire in California this year? Green Fire, Glifford Fire, Orleans Complex, or Rosa Fire?
I think it's the Kathy Lee Gifford fire, but I'm not sure.
Randy says Gifford as well.
Yep. Yep. If they could see me now, all they would say is, wow, I'm sitting on a carnival. Sorry.
Wow.
Nobody else remembers those commercials except
I
for you.
remember that
Actually
one.
sing
I
it
remember
well,
that
Dan.
one.
You sing
Yeah.
it well.
Thank you.
Yeah. Question number 7: dozens of people in New York City have been diagnosed with Legionnaire's disease. Where do authorities suspect the bacteria that causes the disease originated from? The subway system. Sounds about right. Water fountains in Central Park, the Hudson River, or cooling towers on buildings. It's like all of the above here.
Yeah.
Subway
My
system.
my guess would be water fountains, but I don't know.
Oh, Randy says
No,
cooling towers.
cooling towers. Interesting.
Which, I mean, again, that makes sense. These cooling towers. If you get
Yeah.
something
I
in the
mean,
water.
Legionnaires, it had something to do with air conditioning
But
too.
you're
So,
not in contact with them. It's got to be the water fountains.
well, but I think right, the real Legionnaire's disease was like in the
Everything
Midwest
tastes like
somewhere.
chicken.
It had to do with a convention,
It's
and it had something to
1970
do
all over again.
with the HVAC system. So maybe it
Yeah.
is the cooling towers.
Yeah, I'm going to go cooling towers as well. But quite
Yeah.
honestly, everything on this list can cause Legionnaires.
Yeah.
Where did my mouse go?
Here we go. Click it. Click it.
There we
Yeah.
go. Yay. Cooling tower
Right,
is
release
a
the mist
rooftop
into the air.
device that releases mist into the air and cools a large building. In New Mexico, we have, swamp coolers kind of in
Yep.
that same vein. But yeah. Question number 8. What is a cortisol cocktail, the wellness hack that has been trending on TikTok and Instagram? Good God. Diet soda and agave syrup, coconut water, citrus juice, and salt, sour cherry juice and apple cider vinegar, milk, bananas, peanut butter, and honey.
All right, let me be scientific about this. I don't think it can be milk because of the
Brandy
sugar.
says that the overpriced coconut water concoction, which
That seems likely to me because and salts. Right?
and salts, like
Right.
the
And
big
salts.
crunchy salts that you get on a
Yeah.
margarita.
Although I
glass.
will say that I heard a very interesting conversation about kosher salt, which, not kosher, it's just a thing. But the reason why people prefer it over steak is because iodine has a flavor to it. And so if you can get non-iodine salt, that's the same as using kosher salt on steak.
Interesting. I mean, it could be Malort and anything else. That would probably be some kind of health.
Yeah,
Malort.
I'll go with coconut water.
Yeah, coconut water. Correct. Cortisol cocktails are non-alcoholic drinks that contain a mixture. You can make it in any drink. You can make into an alcoholic drink if you want to. but it contains a mixture of coconut water, citrus juice, and certain salts. However, there is no scientific evidence that drinking the beverage lowers stress hormones, boosts energy, or balances a body's adrenal function.
I can't believe that
Something
Red
on
Bull.
TikTok is not real?
I can't believe the Red Bull's not in there.
Yeah, jeez. Red Bull's only function is to make you shit yourself, I think.
Mm.
Question number 9. Which artist received the most 25 MTV Video Music Awards? Do they still do that?
What's MTV?
Yeah.
Is anyone in this year actually
do they still make music videos?
I mean, do they?
Yes.
I
Yeah,
don't
they
know
do.
if
I've seen.
anybody is willing to be, and well, I mean, I'm sure they're willing to be, but I don't know if they deserve an award because today's music and crap is so crappy.
So
Just saying.
the choices are Taylor Swift, Kendrick Lamar, Lady Gaga, or Bruno Mars.
Right.
We've got Brandy on the board with Lady Gaga.
I will say that if you, Joe, look up the Lady Gaga Bruno Mars duet, you'll be very happy at hearing that song, and you won't think that all modern music sucks.
I will check it out, but I'm not holding any.
You wait.
I'm not a huge fan of modern pop music, but I'm not going to write all of it off. There are good musical artists out there still making music. It's just that they don't hit in that
Right.
pop.
I mean,
range. Mine's
Bruno-
more bluegrass and
Bruno Mars has written a bunch of songs that are just,
Wu-Tang. That's for the children.
I think I'm driving around town with the
Did you
girl I
say
love, and I
Wu-Tang?
say,
Wu-Tang is
say-
for the children.
Yeah.
Wu-Tang is for the. Oh
No.
Wu-Tang.
wow.
Wu-Tang is a
Wu-Tang
different
nothing to fuck.
conversation, brother.
Cash rules everything around me. Get the money, dollar bill, yo. I have no idea on this. Neither does anybody else. I'm
Well,
gonna
Brady
guess.
says Lady Gaga. I'm going to go with Lady Gaga.
Oh, I was gonna guess Kendrick
Correct.
Lamar. But I'm glad we got it right.
Lady Gaga leads the nominations this year with 12.
I guess she's the most
know,
visual of all of them.
So
Yeah. I mean,
All right,
I'm
here
not
we go.
surprised. I'm surprised
Here
that
we
she
go.
released an album.
Perfect
Next
score on the
question.
line.
All right, question number 10. How long is the extremely elusive Barbados thread snake? 1 to 2 meters, 5 to 6 centimeters, 3 to 4 inches, or 8 to 9 feet. You're mixing different systems
Yeah,
here.
it's completely
I
bullshit.
don't
You
know what
bastard.
you're talking about.
And they're not going in order either. But my guess is going to be 1 to 2 meters. Because if it's 8 to 9 feet, which isn't that much longer, right? 9 feet is only 3 meters.
Brandy
it's
says 3 to 4 inches.
Okay. Well, I don't think that's bad either. I mean, first of all, right, it's bullshit because 6 centimeters, right, is 5 inches. So 5 to 6 centimeters is in the range of 3 to 4 inches.
Yeah, I think we're going to get hosed on this one.
Well, no, 3 is 2.7. I don't know.
Rely on Dan.
Yeah, let's go 3 to 4.
Correct.
Yeah.
Thank you, Brandy. You got us.
Thank you,
perfect
Brandy.
week.
Yeah.
Growing to the length of just 3 to 4 inches, the Barbados thread snake is the world's smallest snake. They're wee little things. All right. So, thanks everyone for joining us tonight. I really appreciate you tuning in. Thank you to Janice and Brandy and James and Phil and Jeremy. Yeah, we've
Hey guys, if you're watching on YouTube, click the subscribe button and click the bell to get notified when we have new shows. If you're watching on Facebook, please share and click like.
Caring means
all
sharing.
those things make a diffence. Caring means sharing.
Caring means sharing. So,
Yeah.
but thanks for joining us this week. We will talk about AI next week and look forward to that discussion. Have a good one, everyone.
Good night, everybody.